My name is Opor. I've just graduated as a nurse, under a government scholarship. And of course, that means I must work for a state hospital first, at least for about 2 years, before I'm allowed to choose a private hospital, where the income is obviously much higher. So here I am, assigned to a government hospital on the outskirts of the city, working because I have no choice yet. No right to choose where I really want to be. At first, I was assigned only to check patients' blood pressure for almost an entire month. Then, I was transferred to the geriatric ward on the internal medicine floor. A building with only 4 levels. My job was simple at first, giving medications, checking for fluids, going from bed to bed, watching over the elderly patients. And after about 3 months, things began to change. Then, I was moved to the night shift, a shift I honestly never liked because it felt almost like being a guard, watching over the ward in the quiet hours. My shift started at 9 p.m. and lasted all the way until morning. We were allowed to take short naps inside a small glass room, a place we called the guard booth. But even while resting, we had to keep our ears open for the sound of the alarm, with the red emergency light above our heads. If it rang and the red light flashed, it meant a patient needed urgent help immediately. Fortunately, it didn't happen very often. Tonight was my 3rd night on the night shift in this building, and I was paired with Bangorn, my sleepyhead colleague, who fell asleep easily and woke up only with difficulty. So difficult that I often had to do the entire floor inspection myself. I got tired of shaking her awake every time it was her turn, but Bangorn had her good sides too. She always brought snacks and little treats to share. So instead of being annoyed, I found myself oddly fond of her.
Another night.
She dropped her flashlight onto the table with a small thud and grumbled. The exact same complaint I heard every single night. By now, I had grown used to it, so used to it, that it had become almost amusing. I smiled softly, laughing a little at her dramatic posture as she slumped down in the chair beside me. "What are you bored of this time, Bangorn? You complain every single day." Bangorn leaned back, pouting her lips, arms folded, sighing loudly. Before answering, without even looking at me,
I'm bored of those rounds, that's what. Walking every floor in that dead silence. Some floors are so dark, especially the 3rd floor. The neon lights keep flickering. The front and back ends of the hallway blink on and off, and the lights in the middle have been dead for 2 or 3 days now. I told the head nurse already, but who knows if she even reported it.
I chuckled softly. "That's a government hospital for you. Low budget." Bang! Orn let out a long, heavy sigh.
You're right, Por. 2 more years of this.
I didn't answer. I was still flipping through a celebrity magazine in front of me. My eyes drifted to the clock on the wall. 20 minutes to 11. About 30 minutes left before my turn to make the rounds on every floor of the building. At exactly 11 o'clock, it was my turn to make the rounds. I stood up, grabbed my flashlight, while Bangorn rested her head on the table, lifting her face just long enough to give me a sleepy smile, and yawned so wide I could almost see her tonsils. I couldn't help but smile.
Your turn already, Opor. Ha, what a pain.
I didn't answer, just nodded, trying not to laugh, before quickly stepping out of the room. The ground floor was the outpatient room and the pharmacy, bright neon lights. Nothing scary. I walked through quickly, heading for the stairs. At the far end of the building, It was already past 11. The entire building was silent, and because this was a suburban hospital, far from any busy roads, there were no cars, no voices, no sounds of any kind. So quiet, I could hear my own footsteps echoing in the hall, echoes that made it feel as if someone was walking right behind me. If someone were faint-hearted, they would have run by now, thinking a ghost was following them. But I was not easily scared, so I kept walking, unbothered. When I reached the 3rd floor, I saw exactly what Bangorn complained about. Only 2 neon lights, one at each end, were working. The 3 lights in the middle were completely dead, leaving the hallway in heavy darkness. Only one ceiling light, in the very center, flickered desperately, on and off, like a dying firefly. Great, why don't they just fix it already? I muttered to myself, sounding exactly like Bangorn. On my left, a long wall, stretching to the end of the hall, with a large elevator door, right in the middle. On my right, rows of patient rooms, 4 to 5 beds each, about 8 rooms total. The flickering light made me narrow my eyes and walk faster, wanting to get out of this dim corridor as soon as possible. But then I froze, because just as I walked past, the elevator doors suddenly slid open by themselves. I stopped immediately, turning to look. Inside was empty, completely empty. I frowned. Who the hell called the elevator at this hour? I whispered to myself, trying to reassure my own nerves. I wasn't someone who scared easily, but right then, cold goosebumps crawled up my arms and the back of my neck. A few seconds later, the elevator doors slowly slid shut on their own. I kept walking, my eyes glancing into each patient room. Some rooms had 3 or 4 people, some had only 2, and a few were completely empty. Most of the patients were already fast asleep, which wasn't surprising. It was almost midnight, a time when anyone would be deep in their dreams. I climbed up to the 4th floor. All the lights here were bright. Not a single neon bulb was broken. So I walked straight to the end, turned around, and headed back toward the stairwell. Just as I was about to pass the 3rd floor again, something caught my eye. A figure moving. I froze, eyes narrowing, trying to focus through the dim light. There was a patient, walking slowly, hunched forward slightly. She was wearing a hospital gown, holding onto an IV pole. The tiny wheels following behind her. As she shuffled along, I saw clearly. She was an elderly woman, maybe in her 60s, or a little older. But at this hour, why was she out here? Walking alone? Was she going to the bathroom? Or had she gotten confused? I started walking toward her, calling out softly. Very slowly, turned to look at me. She opened her mouth, smiling wide, revealing the few pale remaining teeth still clinging to her gums. Just as I reached her, she spoke first.
Are you new here, dear?
Her face lifted, trying to look at me properly. Her voice soft, thin, slower than normal, maybe because of her age. Yes, Grandma. I just started working here, I replied gently. Are you going to the bathroom? Let me take you there. The old woman smiled again, a gentle smile, the kind that made people relax. She shook her head ever so slowly and said,
No, dear. Grandma is just taking a little walk.
I smiled at her and gently took hold of her forepole, my other hand supporting her arm. As we walked together, her skin was cold, so cold. It felt like touching a block of ice. I immediately said, Grandma, let's go back to your room. See, you're freezing. Which room are you in?
Room 7, dear.
Grandma, what's your name? Why are you staying alone in here? There are empty beds in other rooms too. She smiled slowly.
Grandma likes it alone, dear. Thank you for worrying about me. My name is Maen. You can go now.
I smiled back and stepped out of room 7. When I returned to the duty room, I saw Bangorn leaning back in her chair, fast asleep. I smiled softly, amused as always. A glance at the clock told me it was almost 2 a.m. I stayed on duty until morning, then finally went home to rest. At around 4 p.m., I left my dorm, dressed again, in my nurse's uniform, and walked back to the hospital, preparing for my next shift, which started at 6 p.m. Just as I entered the building, I ran into head nurse Anong on the internal medicine floor, so I asked politely, "Good evening, Panong. Why is Grandma Maen in room 7 all by herself? Can I move her to another room? She might like some company." Panong raised her eyebrows, eyes widening slightly, before smiling and saying,
So you've met Grandma Maen already, Opor? That's quick. She likes being alone in that room. Just let her be.
From the small glass window, in front of the room, someone called my name.
Opor, what are you reading?
I looked up, smiling politely. It was 2 senior nurses, women in their 40s, who had been working here long before I arrived. I noticed both of them were holding a garland, incense sticks, candles, and a small bag of snacks. Curious, I asked. "Just reading, P. Where are you two going with all that?" They exchanged a quick grin.
Oh, we're going to pay respects to Grandma Maen. She gives us lottery numbers sometimes. She's very kind.
Basamporn, the tangent-skinned nurse, answered with a warm smile. Both of them laughed softly, while I sat there, staring at them, completely puzzled. So I asked, "Have you two ever met her?" One of them replied,
And you, Opor, have you met her yet?
"Yes, PA. I met her last night. I even walked her back to her room." "Has she been here for a long time?" Both senior nurses turned to look at each other before bursting into soft, amused laughter. Psamporn leaned closer, speaking gently.
Oh, so you have met her, Opor. Grandma Maen has been here for a very long time. Longer than any of us. She likes to greet new nurses, always just once. Don't worry, dear. She's kind.
Her words only deepened my confusion. Seeing my puzzled face, Psamporn explained further.
Grandma Maen came here when this building was first built. Her family left her here, never came back. It was only the senior nurses, like Panong, who took care of her until she passed away.
My heart skipped. Passed away? Psamporn nodded slowly.
Ever since then, Grandma Maen still comes by to greet us, but only the new nurses and only once. She's afraid if people know she's dead, they might get scared of her.
She smiled kindly.
But Grandma Maen has never frightened anyone. If anything, we're the ones who go ask her for lucky numbers. Don't worry, Opor, she's kind to everyone.
Those were the last words Psamporn told me. And as for me, my knees simply gave out. I collapsed, sinking to the floor, completely drained. Goosebumps raced up my arms, my legs, my neck, and all the way down my back. If everything she said was true, then the Grandma Maen I talked to, smiled at, walked with, and even tucked into bed was her spirit, her ghost. Still wandering the 3rd floor, 2 nights later, Bangorn, my sleepy, grumpy partner, saw Grandma Maen too. But me? From that day onward, I never saw her again. Exactly. As BikiBaam said, she visits new nurses only once. Only once. Even now, I've transferred away. From that old hospital, I'm working at Chulalongkorn Hospital in Bangkok. But I will never, ever forget Grandma Maen, the silent, gentle patient of room 7, the one who still walks her nightly rounds long after her body left this world. Drawn by BikiBaam. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, so you won't miss any of our new creative clips. Support our art journey with a super thanks. See you again in the next clip. Coming soon!